Hi. This morning I'm wondering what the purpose is of the social mind. I'm trying to think again at the faculties that we have and what their real function is. For instance, the hunting mind. If it hunts, then it's doing its job and there's no problem with it. You know, if you work with an aim and you have some sort of sense of being goal orientated and structure your life, set out to do things every day, then that's a good use of the hunting mind. And I think it won't cause any trouble if it's doing its right job. But the social mind, you see, I was considering these things the other day, and if I want to spend time with people or talking, it feels to me that I'm doing nothing useful. That it is the time when I'm sort of resting by chatting to other people. I'm resting, I'm not moving forward, and it's like having a bit of a holiday, but after a while it smells bad. Because nothing's been created, you know? If you chat to people, what do you create? But I guess because chatting to people is different to working together. If you were with a group of Amish and you were building a barn together, then you would be making something together. Yeah. And then as a group you could feel proud that you made something together. Do you see the difference? So that's a consequence of the way we live today. Because human interactions are reduced to chatting or going to the pub or something like that. Because we're no longer a people who live with a purpose. For instance, if you're Amish, then you have a farm, you cultivate the wheat, you have children, you have a Bible, you have a goal. And when you come together, then you raise a barn and things like that. And there's a very clear sense that I am making something. And together we are going together, we're doing something together, you see? So today, in the world that I live in southern England, you know, people don't have anything like that. The society does not allow them to do anything. It's very difficult. And so people chat, they discuss things, right? They discuss ideas. And I can feel, if I consider those situations, I can feel that it's like it's a bit like eating chocolate cake. It's sort of exciting for a moment and then nothing happens. There's no real result. And so social interactions are ultimately, they end up setting the world to rights. You know that expression? Where at the end of the evening, after everybody's had a few drinks, then people take their turns to condemn different world leaders or what's happening, and the old ways are best. And it's a sense of misery, because the entire thing is in a straitjacket, because you're not building a barn together. And this kind of friendship that we have and this social interaction is sad, isn't it? I mean, maybe if you worked for NASA and you socialized with your peers who you worked with and you were making a spaceship or something, maybe you could have the feeling. But then on the other hand, if you don't work with your body and your feelings, then you're going to be sad anyway, because I'm sure we all miss our bodies. since we seem to be so much in our heads these days. But I was thinking about the social mind, and in the sense that everything has to do what it needs, what its real goal is. It feels also to me that the social mind is always on the defensive. As if, talking to other people, you either want something, you want to please somebody, you want to get something, you want somebody to like you, You feel not good enough. I was thinking maybe, what people want is sex. And they just don't do it. They just don't do it. And if you did sex, like if you choose a girl and then you have sex, then it would stop. Then the burning would stop. And then you could move on to something else. So in that sense, you have a kind of impulse to do something, and then you go and do it, and then it comes to an end. It's a kind of nourishment, And when it comes to an end, it's finished. And the problem for people is that they don't really know what they want. They don't give it to themselves, and then they don't come to the conclusion. So then they're always hanging in midair with a kind of anxiety and a sense of dissatisfaction. And in terms of being nourished by food or experiences, I think it's very important to see the beginning, like as the thread takes and it ramps up slowly and the experience begins, and then it opens, and then the activity happens, and then to watch very carefully for the end when it ramps down and it sort of narrows and slows until there's just a thread left, and it continues and it continues, and then it's finished. So especially with real breathing practice, you should always have that in the breathing practices, where you're gently noticing the beginning and gently noticing the end, and allowing it to end. So that's a question of being receptive, passive, not doing, but receiving from life, receiving the end of things. And when things end, and you allow them to end, you allow them to empty until they're completely empty, and you just do nothing, and then the breath begins again. That is nourishment. You cannot be nourished by things unless they begin and they end. One thing I was looking at Ouspensky this week, he was trying to explain the law of three, which he doesn't understand. He said that the active and passive forces are both active, which is a very poor choice of words. Oh yes, I wanted to talk about this, about women. I was considering, and it's very difficult to consider, to put yourself into the position of a woman, but I do have quite a lot of experience in energetic development, and because I'm quite sensitive, and it feels to me, I was trying to consider when a man and a woman are together, and there is the feeling of sex, the feeling of sex, meaning that the energy is flowing between them, and it feels good. It feels good, and it seems to me, and I was really trying to sense inside what was happening. What is actually happening energetically, and what is the difference for the man and the woman? And it feels to me like this, that actually they get the same sense of sexual, of good feeling coming, and it happens in the solar plexus. It actually happens, seems to me, in the solar plexus. I could just feel it there. And the difference is, for the man, it is like the solar plexus, it goes forwards, and for the woman, it goes inwards. There's a different energetic shape. There's a kind of energy that moves forwards from the solar plexus in the man, and for the woman it moves inwards, and that is according to the design of the flow of energy inside them, a design that is made not by you, but they both feel the same kind of joy, you see. But actually, according to the design, the energy is moving in a different way, a different direction, perhaps unnoticed. But in terms of the physical form, then that is simply a representation of the movement of energy, which is according to the structure that was built, not by you. Active and passive, I don't think are good words. It should be more like emitting and receiving, or pushing and pulling. A couple of weeks ago, there was another day without the sun. There were white clouds overhead and blustery winds, a bit like autumn. And I could feel immediately that I was not as alert or awake as normal, and that actually the sunlight plays a big part in the awakeness of people. And when there is no sun, people are not as awake. And so we are all at the mercy of the elements. And when it's blustery, when the wind is buffeting around, it changes the many eyes. It buffets them around. It changes your behavior. It passes through you into your subtle bodies. And I noticed yesterday in the Anglo-Catholic ceremony I visited, beautiful ceremony, that everything that was happening there was having a very strong effect on the many eyes, in the energies inside of me, and that it is very carefully designed, and it very much functions. And the goal is to have an inner sun, and then you become independent of the elements.